Welcome back to the channel, you curd nerds. Today we've got another private pilot mock check ride with student Jason. And this is going to be based on a 1976 Cessna 172 Mock model that originally came with an O320, but the engine had been swapped to a fuel-injected IO 320 with a little bit more horsepower. It also came equipped with two Garmin G5s and a GTN 650 XL GPS. We didn't touch too much on the GPS given that it's a private pilot check ride, and we didn't touch much on weight and balance given that I don't have the actual POH of that aircraft to have an appropriate conversation or even test like, hey, did you do the weight and balance correctly in this aircraft? They also included a copy of their private pilot written results so that we could go over the subjects and questions that they missed. So let's get into it. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope this helps you on your next check ride. So we are recording, so I'm just going to ask you one more time. You are okay with us recording this so I can make TikToks and other content out of it later? Yes. Awesome. So we're going to go right into it for the questions that you might have missed on your private pilot written. Let's go through the fun little script that the DPE is probably going to go through. They're going to say, hey, give me your logbook. Let me see all your certificates, documents, whatnot. They're going to look over your medical certificate to make sure that you're not missing anything that you should be operating with. Even if you don't plan on flying that day, just bring the shit, right? If they say you need glasses, but like it's like reading glasses, right? Just bring them. I've failed students on their stage checks and whatnot because it's like, you can't see.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here?
Right now, yeah. It's understandable.
But there's three outcomes to every check ride. There's going to be satisfactory, unsatisfactory, or incomplete. Satisfactory means you are consistently within the standards. Doesn't mean that you can't break outside of the standards periodically, just as long as you recognize it and correct it. Then we've got unsatisfactory, which would be consistently outside of standards, don't understand the safety-related information, things that would concern me that if you were to go out and fly, you would either risk yourself or somebody else, right? Then there's incomplete. A lot of students are under the impression that the DPE is the only buddy that can incomplete, all right? You can incomplete. If you are starting to recognize like, oh shit, I'm not prepared. Incomplete it. I do want to make a correction right here. I did state that the student pilot, the applicant, can incomplete at any time for any reason, which is a mistake. All right. If you reference 61.43 of the Federal Aviation Administration's regulations, Part E, it says the examiner or the applicant may discontinue a practical test at any time when the applicant fails one or more of the areas of operation or due to inclement weather conditions, aircraft airworthiness, or other safety of flight concerns. So a student just purely being unprepared for a check ride is not a valid reason for a student to discontinue a check ride or stage check. Let's get back into it. I have failed one stage check out of my entire, all of my training, and I've had to explain that failed stage check at literally every interview I have ever been in.
Oh man, they told me, from what I've heard, I've been told not to worry about it if you do fail a check ride, and just off of that makes me makes me pretty nervous.
So here's the thing: it's not that like I've had to explain it and I didn't get the job. I still got the damn job.
Yeah, it's just
it got brought up. I had to explain what went wrong and what I learned from it. A lot of students want to blame the DPE. They're like, well, the DPE had like a 10% first try pass rate. There was no way I was going to pass it. And no. You say that, can pack your shit, go home. But if you recognize that you're at a point in which you aren't ready, stuff's getting brought up where you're just like, I don't even know what you're saying, man.
Yeah.
You can incomplete the stage check as well. Or if you're just not feeling well, if you're not comfortable with the weather, right? If it's 25 knot direct crosswind and the DPE is like, well, is that a limitation of the aircraft? And you're like, no, but like, come on.
Yeah. Not the best of days. Yeah.
All right. So let's get right into the questions that you missed on your written. All right. It says that you missed part 68, basic med privileges and limitations. So who can get basic med?
I believe you have to have held a medical certificate before.
Yeah.
So you've. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So what's the time frame? Like, let's say I flew when I was like 19, which was, oh God, 10, 12 years ago. Can I go to basic med now?
I'm not sure the time frame. Um, I'm not quite sure as for the time frame per
All right.
se.
So we know where to find it. It'd be on Part 68 of the Federal
Yeah,
Aviation Administration's regulations. I believe it's 4 years, or you must have held a medical certificate since 2016,
got it.
right?
Okay.
Um, Now, what would prevent you from holding basic med?
Uh, I guess any like disqualifications that would prevent you from holding a medical certificate. Um,
Okay. Now, basic med kind of defers it to your primary care, right?
yeah,
It defers it to your doctor as opposed to an AME. So
yeah.
let's say you develop something that might cause an issue with you holding a first or third class medical certificate. So you just don't go back. You just don't go back to the aviation medical examiner, and you go to your primary care and you're like, hey, like me and you, we've hashed this out. We know that it's not a problem. Can that primary care sign you off for basic med?
I believe so. Um,
Yes, that's the whole point of basic med,
okay.
right? That's the whole point
Yeah,
of basic med. The issue is when somebody gets denied or revoked a medical. That's really going to be what prevents you from holding basic med, either a
got it.
denial or a revocation. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what does that limit you to? If you fly on basic med, can you go buy yourself a Vision Jet?
No. So I believe it. Some of I guess the more basic limitations would be I think it's no more than 6 passengers, including the pilot itself. Um, I think there's an airspeed. I think it's no more than 250 knots, but and I think there's a weight also. I think it's 6,000 pounds, maybe.
All right.
For the
Well,
weight
let's go ahead and look all that stuff up at the end, just so that we know where to find it, right? Because if I just give you
yeah.
the answer, you're going to write it down in your phone or what have you and never look it up, right?
Right.
All right. So pedostatic instruments was another one that seemed like you might have had some issues with. What instruments operate off of a vacuum pump?
Uh, I
Or
would say the
you flew with G5s, right?
yeah. I'm flying with G5s now. Yeah.
Okay. So do any of your instruments operate off of a vacuum pump?
No. So I was actually taking classes and they installed the G5s. So I believe the I want to say the altimeter, the VSI, and um, altimeter, VSI. I want to say your turn coordinator.
Okay. So altimeter, where's it getting its information from?
I believe it would be the static port and I think just the static. Yeah, the
It's just a
static port.
static port, right? So does that have anything to do with a vacuum pump?
No. Yeah.
No. Okay. It's going to be your gyroscopic instruments, right? All right. Your turn coordinator. That's the only gyroscopic instrument that's not actually run from a vacuum pump. That one's run
Okay.
run electronically. So we've got two other gyroscopic instruments. What are they?
It would just be there's the turn coordinator, your heading indicator, and what else?
Turn coordinator, heading indicator. What's the thing that tells you where the sky is?
Oh, your I guess they're a horizontal
Your attitude indicator,
attitude
right?
indicator.
Yep. So since you're using G5s, you don't have a vacuum pump. So we've got our AHARS and ADC, right?
Yeah.
So what is AHARS? What does AHARS stand for?
Attitude heading reference system.
Okay, so what instruments are included in your AHARS?
It would be your attitude indicator, your altitude, VSI.
So remember, attitude, heading, and reference system, right? What's the other one stand for? It's ADC. What does that include? Or what does it stand for?
I'm not sure what the ADC stands for.
Air data computer. So anything that deals with air outside, right? Things like your VSI, your altimeter, your your VSI, your altimeter, and your outside air temperature, your airspeed indicator, right? Those are all air-based instruments. Your attitude, heading, and reference system, those are going to be all your gyroscopic based instruments. Those are things going to be like your attitude indicator, your heading indicator, and your turn coordinator, right?
Gotcha.
All right. So we're looking at our attitude indicator. It's got a gyro in there, right?
Yeah.
Do we know what gyroscopic principles apply to that attitude indicator?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
So we've got two gyroscopic principles that apply when it comes to instrumentation, right? We've got rigidity in space.
Yep.
And precession, right?
Okay.
So which ones or both of them apply to the attitude indicator?
I think it would just be the rigidity and space.
So a lot of people think it's rigidity in space, but let's remember that we do fly on a globe. Some people like to,
Gotcha.
argue with that, but
Yeah.
we do fly on a globe. For us to make sure that our attitude indicator stays lined up with the center of gravity of the planet, not center of gravity of the plane, but to make sure that our attitude indicator continues to line up with the planet, it uses precession as well. It's got little pendulous vanes. You'll learn about it in instrument, but they use both the precession and rigidity in space. The heading indicator only uses rigidity in space, right? So definitely get in the P-hack, brush up on your gyroscopic instruments, right? One of them says proper radio communication and ATC phraseology. It was probably the upwind question.
Okay.
All right. Everyone fucks that up because we all say, hey, we're on the upwind. No, it's departure leg.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Everybody, the AIM calls it departure leg. It's not upwind. That's probably what that one was. Right. So let's talk about you missed a couple things on like collision hazards, aircraft, vessels, persons, wildlife, terrain, obstacles, wires is what it gave me, right? So if I've got two airplanes coming at each other, right? I've got,
Okay.
this one and this one. What are you supposed to do?
Like they're head on.
Yep, head on.
I believe each aircraft is supposed to turn right.
Yep, everybody turns to the right. So let's say you hit the lottery and you went and bought yourself like a SR-22 Turbo Cirrus, right? That there's a quick plane, or like a Mooney Ovation. That thing can do like 210 true on a single engine, right? And there's this just dumpy little cub up in front of you, and they're doing like 60 knots. What are you gonna do?
And again, we're on a head-to-head collision course.
Nope. Cub, you. What are you gonna do? Are you going to pass them on the left or the right?
I would want to say, I mean, I guess it depends on the scenario, but
well, you're just lined up. You're both going to the same place, right?
like coming in for landing.
Well, not necessarily coming in for landing. You guys are just both up at cruise. He's doing 80, you're doing 200, and you're both departed the same airport and are going to the same airport. Which side are you going to pass them on?
Probably pass him on the right-hand side.
Yep, it's going to be the right-hand side. It's always going to be to the right. You remember doing clearing turns, right, for all your maneuvers?
Yes.
Which direction do you start your clearing turns to?
I start mine to the left. I've started mine to the left.
Do you know why?
Because
the faster traffic is going to be on your right.
To the right, yeah.
Yep, it's not because Beyonce says everything you own's in the box to the left. It's because the faster traffic is on the right.
Right.
All right. So if you're flying along and a hot air balloon starts to cross in front of your path, who's got right of way? Who can continue on without altering their course? You or the balloon?
The balloon. It would be lighter to air.
All right. Now, what about a helicopter? Who has right of way? You or the helicopter?
I think I would say
you.
Yeah, I do, because they're able to maneuver better than I am.
They can stop.
Yeah.
They can stop, right?
Yeah.
So one of them was next one was really it was a wind correction techniques on takeoff or departure and approach to landing. So if I've got a crosswind from the right, what are some of the techniques that you're going to use to correct for that crosswind?
It would just be the aileron into wherever the wind is coming from. So I guess crosswind from the right would be right aileron into the wind.
Okay, so these airplanes like to point their nose into the wind. They work kind of like a weather vane, right? So if I'm coming in for a landing, what do I need to do with the nose of the airplane? What do I need to do with my rudders?
Pointed into the direction of the wind, so you would just crab into the landing.
So, other way, right? Where's my airplane? So we've got our airplane, right? And camera is the runway. I've got
Okay,
wind coming from the right. If I just continue to fly straight, airplane's going to drift off, right?
correct.
So I dip into the wind. Airplane's now like this. Can I land
Yes.
like this?
No, so this was a little difficult subject for me. I was shown to crab into the wind until the last second, and
Crab and
then
kick.
just kick it off. And then my new instructor was telling me that I should be slipping, so I'm not crabbing. So
So
it's
here's the thing. There's two different methods, right? There's crab and kick, and then there's the low wing method, right? So low wing is you fly like this, straightening
yeah,
that nose out, right? The reason a lot of instructors teach low wing in is because it gives you a little bit more time to kind of figure it out,
right.
right? That crab and kick method, it's what you're going to do in the airlines. But when
Okay.
you get to the airlines, you're also going to have, 15, 1700 hours
Yeah.
of flying. Okay.
Right.
If you noticed, is the crab and kick method was a little bit more, there's a lot more going on
Yeah.
at one time, right?
Yeah.
But in this low wing method, you get stabilized a lot farther out, right? And
Right.
you can really just kind of land the plane. There's
Yeah.
less going on 2 feet above the ground.
Right.
That's why this your new instructor is teaching the low wing in, because it helps you stabilize farther out so that
Okay.
you've got more time to make those corrections. The crab and kick, you'll learn it later on. I usually teach it to commercial applicants because they've got 200 and something hours by the time they get to me. Um,
Right.
but the new instructor's got the right idea. Private pilot, low wing it in. Um, it's a safer option. It requires a little bit more power. It requires a little bit more fuel burn, but that's why, right? Now, I know you were saying you wanted to focus a little bit on aerodynamics, so I got a couple other questions. That was some questions that you missed on the written, but I got a whole section that focuses on aerodynamics, right? Um, Now, said factors that can lead to a power on stall and actions to take to prevent it. That was another one, another subject. So, what airspeed? If there's trees, a mountain, or what have you, what airspeed? I don't need an actual number, but like there's a symbolism, right? It's one of your
Okay.
V speeds. What V speed would I maintain to ensure that I could clear obstacles?
VX.
Okay, so VX. If I am slower than VX, what's that going to do? Right? Because a lot of people, when there's an obstacle in front of them,
Yeah.
they keep trying to pull. They're like, oh shit, I'm going to hit the trees. I'm going to hit the trees. And they slow
Right.
down below VX. If
Mm.
I slow down below VX, am I going to get better performance?
No,
No.
I
Okay.
think VX is the best performance that they've come up for that aircraft
So
for
VX
climbing.
for climbing what?
I guess the angle of climb in a
Mm-hmm.
short amount of distance.
Yep. So it's your best altitude over what?
The shortest amount of distance.
Shortest amount of distance, right? So that's what I would do to ensure that I prevent a power on stall on departure. But what would I do if I actually stalled on departure?
So that would just be um nose down to build up some airspeed. If you have any flaps, I mean, in my aircraft I don't take off with flaps. Um, so just nose down to build up some airspeed and then continue the
Break the
climb.
stall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Another one was physiological aspects related to flying. So how long should I wait to let my eyes adjust before I go fly at night?
Uh, I'm not sure.
It's gonna be about an hour.
An
About
hour.
an hour.
Okay.
Yep. Um, what should I do with my strobes? If I'm taxiing around at night, should I have my strobes on?
So I turn them off until I probably depart just for other people.
Yep, for other people and even for you.
Yeah.
If you're flying around at night, how would you know that you entered a cloud? Because it can be kind of difficult, right? If it's a cloudy,
Yeah.
overcast night, right? You're
Right.
not seeing any stars or whatnot. You're over the middle of the desert, so there's not really anything for you to see. What
Mhm.
what would kind of be a nice indication to me, letting me know, oh shit, I just entered the clouds?
I would say maybe you would hear an engine difference. RPMs might drop a little bit because of the moisture. Um,
This is going to be something that's like super evident, right? So if
oh,
you ever,
the strobe lights with the clouds.
yeah, they're going to reflect off the clouds. It's going to blind you.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, it's going to be pretty violent, right? Um, it's happened once to me, and when you're not planning on it,
Yeah, when you're not
it's a
expecting.
little terrifying, right? Is there anything that smokers should be concerned about when flying at night? I don't know if you smoker, but like,
I do not. Um, when flying, I mean, uh,
so
I don't
when we're
know.
flying around at night, we're generating, our eyeballs are working harder. When
Yeah,
parts of our body are working harder, what do those parts use more of?
oxygen.
They use more oxygen, right? So at night, our eyeballs they're creating this chemical called like purple vision, or I don't know what it's actually called, but they're creating a chemical in our eyes to make our eyeballs work better at night
Okay.
that requires a lot of oxygen. So is there anything smokers should be concerned about, right? Smokers are more susceptible to what?
I guess just busy passing out.
What's that?
Uh, or it's I guess hypoxia.
Yeah, it's
Hypoxia.
hypoxia. Yeah, so smokers at night are more susceptible to hypoxia. So that's all the stuff that you missed on the written, unless there's something that you specifically, like a question you specifically remember, and you're just like, I don't know what the hell
No,
this
I
was.
don't. There was a couple that I missed, but I can't really remember. I think it was those extra five that they added on to the end.
Okay.
Um, that were a little confusing that I hadn't seen before, but I can't remember them anyways.
All right. Well, let's get right into V speeds and emergencies. So, based on the POH I found for your airplane, it's measured in miles per hour. Is it still measured in miles per hour on the G5s, or they swapped that over to knots?
They swapped that over to the knots.
Oh,
I
okay.
have I guess a sheet. I could have probably sent it to you that the airport that I fly at came up with. Um,
Okay. Oh,
is there-
you're fine. I have a little calculator up. So what would VNE be?
that would be the never exceed speed.
All right, what is it?
I believe. Uh,
It's gonna be in knots, right?
yeah. Sorry, my dad was calling me.
No,
I think it's one. I want to say 160.
that's about where I'm at. Yep. Um, now what's VNO?
That would be your normal operating speed.
Okay, now what does that tell me? Like if I am above VNO, what am I limited to?
I believe above VNO. I guess you'd be like limited to flying in like turbulent weather.
So I can't fly in turbulent weather above VNO, right?
Yeah.
What airspeed would that be?
I believe on. I think it changes with weight.
Mm,
Um,
no, that's a different
I
one.
I want to say 130 or 125.
Ah, I'm measuring. It's looking at 126 for me, in this little calculator because the POH
Okay,
says 145.
gotcha.
Um, so what about VFE? What is VFE?
Is the flaps maximum flaps extended?
Okay, and what is that speed?
Uh, sorry, my dad. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry, my he's just.
No, you're fine.
What was the question again? The flaps extended, correct?
No, we're yeah, flap extended. What speed would that be?
That's 80 knots.
All right, and VA. That was the one that you were talking about earlier. What's VA?
Yes, that is the one that changes with your weight.
Okay, so if
Um,
I'm at max gross weight, what would VA be?
I believe that is 93 knots, 94 knots maybe.
I'm seeing 97.
97.
Yeah. Uh, now we've got two different stall speeds, right?
Yeah.
All right. What are they?
I guess you would have it in like your dirty configuration, so with flaps. I believe that is 48 knots, or is it 58 knots?
Mm,
I
So
think
think about
it's
your landing speeds, right? What's your landing
yeah.
speeds?
Probably coming in around, I want to say like 65 knots.
Okay. Um, so would you be comfortable flying 6, 7 knots away from stalling, especially on a landing?
Yeah, nah.
All right.
I
So
believe it's in dirty configuration it's 48 knots or for
okay.
like 40.
And what about just in cruise?
Um, oh man, I think it's probably lower 40 knot range.
You got them backwards, dude. Right. So flaps, what do they do for us?
They allow us to slow down without building up airspeed.
Yeah, well, they allow us to go down without building up airspeed, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
All right. But what do they also help us with? They change the shape of the wing, right?
Yes.
All right. And if they change the shape of the wing, and the way that they're changing the shape of the wing, they're increasing, um, they're increasing our angle of attack. Well, an increased
Yeah.
angle of attack gives us what?
A higher stall speed.
Well, not a higher stall speed. It gives us an increased angle of attack, gives us more lift,
Okay, I understand.
right?
Yeah.
Um, so what's the max weight of your airplane? Not the
Uh,
max, not the max like payload, max weight.
I think it's 2,300 pounds.
Awesome. So what engine are you equipped with?
So there was they did change it so it's not the same as in the POH. It's the Lycoming 320. Um, oh man, what is the full name? It's the Lycoming 320. It's got 160 horsepower instead of the normal 150.
Okay.
Um, I forget the rest.
So is it so the original one was an O320, right?
Oh, 320. Yes,
All right. What's the so I'm assuming the new one is probably an IO320.
yes, I believe so. Pretty sure I have this down somewhere. Yes, the IO 320, the
All right.
E2D, I believe.
Okay. What's the difference between the original one and the one that's in it now?
I believe the displacement and the power.
So they're both 320, right?
Uh,
What does that
yeah.
number associate to? It's the
I
displacement.
guess yes, the displacement, the cubic
Okay.
inches.
So did the displacement change?
No.
No. Okay. So what's that I mean? The original just had an O, right?
Yeah.
What does the I mean?
Uh, I'm not sure what the I means.
Injected. It's fuel injected engine now. All right.
Gotcha.
It's
Yep.
more efficient. It's got more power, right? So the original one was carbureted. What are some of the benefits of a fuel injected airplane over a carbureted airplane?
Some of the benefits would be don't have to worry about carb heat or carb icing. Um, there's fuel all the time, so in a stall, you don't have to worry about fuel deprivation. Um,
Fuel starvation, and then
deprivation.
as long, yeah, you do have a pressure. Yeah. All right. What
Uh,
else? So we talked about two of them, right? We already brought up the fact that the new engine has more horsepower, right?
yes.
So more power, more
Yes.
efficient, right? So you flew the airplane. Did you fly the airplane before they put the new engine in it?
Yeah.
All right. So did you notice anything about maybe responsiveness? Is it easier to do
Uh,
go arounds in it now that they've got the fuel injected
yeah.
engine in it? So it's more responsive, it's more efficient. Fuel burn. What's the fuel burn on this thing looking like now when it's fuel injected as opposed to carbureted?
I believe when I spoke to my instructor last, I think it was like 9.5. I'm not quite sure. I don't have that number written down. I have it some of my other stuff. I don't have everything with me right now.
Yeah, no, that's fine. What I'm noticing though is you keep referencing study guides.
Hmm.
Start looking at source material. What have you
Okay, so
read through the POH?
yeah, so I have the like checklist and POH. I made this binder.
Okay.
Um, so that's what I'm referencing. I just have like a
Okay.
binder, everything typed out,
All right.
like procedures, the original POH, stuff like that.
Okay. So since it's the fuel injected, I'm not sure how much oil that thing's supposed to have. It's probably the 8 quarts as usual. What about gas? How much gas is in it and how much is usable?
So total is 42 gallons. Usable is 38.
Okay. Is there any de-icing equipment on that airplane?
It would just be the windshield defrosters and the pitot-static heat.
Awesome. Um, so what I looked up was it had, the engine did have a carburetor. So you've flown it with you've flown carbureted engines, you've flown carbureted airplanes, and you getting a private pilot certificate is not a private pilot certificate for, Piper whatevers with IO
Right. Just
320s. It's whatever. You really go fly whatever. Um, how would you identify carburetor icing?
I guess they loss in RPM.
Is it going to be drastic?
It wouldn't be drastic, but you would hear a difference or feel a difference. Maybe
Mhm.
sluggishness and power response.
Okay.
Um,
What would you do?
Carb heat.
All right. Would you ever use partial carb heat?
I don't think so. No.
No. So what are you expecting? You pull that carb heat on. What's going to happen next?
The engine that noise is probably going to get worse. But then if my suspicion was correct and there is carb ice, the RPMs should slowly start to go back up.
Okay. Why is it going to get worse?
Because you are changing the fuel to air ratio in the engine.
Not really. It's still going through the carburetor. You've caused a slight restriction, but the way carburetors work is you're really providing it less fuel and air. You're providing it
Okay.
less volume as opposed to a change in ratio. It's a little different because it's hotter, but again, given the way that carburetors work, um, especially aviation carburetors, uh, but you just had ice in there, right?
Yes.
And you just applied heat to it. What happens to ice when you apply heat to it?
Gonna melt. Yeah.
All right, so where's that water going to go?
Straight into the engine.
Straight into the engine. That's why it's going to sound like shit. A
Gotcha.
lot of pilots screw up because they don't think all the way through that process, and they
Yeah.
pull the carb heat on. They notice, oh shit, I got carburetor icing. My engine's going to die. So they pull the carb heat on, and it gets worse. And they go, oh no
And
no
they,
no, don't do that.
yeah.
Um, because they don't fully grasp, hey, what's all going on right now, right?
Right.
So as soon as you pull that carb heat on, the ice is going to start to melt. It's going to start getting into the engine, and it will eventually get better, right? Um, now, let's say you. So again, we're going to get into a little bit of emergencies, right? So we talked about carb racing. Um, what would you do if your engine dies during your takeoff roll? You're still on the ground. You're just rolling along. Woo, boo, engine died.
Uh, so I'm still on the runway.
Yeah, still on the ground.
So I'd probably engines completely toast. To just continue like abort or takeoff. Um, Continue rolling. Pull out my checklist. But some things I would probably do before is probably just look at the mixture, make sure it's still full rich. Um, Power to idle. Look at the fuel gauge, the selector. Um, Check the mags.
It,
Um,
we're still on the pavement. It ain't
yeah. So
complicated. Stop.
yeah, pull off,
Just stop.
shut down.
If you think you're gonna run off the end of the runway, pull the mixture. Shut the magnetos, shut off the master.
Gotcha.
All right. Piper products, try and pop the door. Once they start rolling down and if they crumple, the door doesn't like to open.
Gotcha.
All right. Um, you're still on the pavement. You're safe,
Yeah.
right? Just stop. If you think you're going to smash into something, make sure you shut everything down. Pull the fuel shut off if you got the opportunity to do so. But we're still on the
Gotcha.
pavement. It's simple,
Mm.
right? Well, let's say we just took off, right? We're 120 feet. What's your plan?
Uh, Hope there's a patch of grass ahead of me. But just land straight ahead.
Yeah, you're going to land straight ahead. If anything, big old handful and just push it on all of the fuel, the throttle, all of that. Just make sure you push all that forward.
Mm.
See if the mixture just worked its way out. Some of these older
Yeah.
airplanes, the friction locks don't work anymore,
Gotcha.
right? Obviously, if that doesn't fix the problem, you're going into the pavement, or
Yeah.
you're hoping for a patch of grass, right? Um, What about if you had an engine fire or engine failure, not fire? Come on,
Hmm.
mouse. An engine failure in cruise, right? You're just up there, 7,000 feet, 7,500
Okay.
feet.
So I'd look for a spot to land immediately. Pitch for best glide speed, which I believe is 65 knots. Um, I'm gonna have my iPad with me, so I'm gonna see if there's any local or small private airports around me, airstrips. Once I've got a spot to land, I'm going to check the carb heat, the mixture, make sure that the fuel selector is set on both. Um, Make sure my mags are still in the on position, masters on. Um, Try and restart if I get no restart. Uh, and I would pull out my checklist and continue with the rest of my checklist. Um, Hop on 121.5, make an emergency call, and um, continue with the landing. High
All right.
squawk 7700.
All right. That's not bad. What about an engine fire in flight? So we're up at 8,000 feet. Engine all of a sudden starts smoking. There's a fire out there. What are you going to do?
So I'd probably uh, shut the mixture off or the fuel off, kill all fuel to the engine, pull the mixture out, and then I'd probably do, I guess, an accelerated descent. That's what that's called.
An
Bank to
emergency
25,
descent?
emergency descent
Okay.
to get the fire out.
Okay.
Um,
Now the fire's out. What's next?
uh, just look for the best spot to land if I still have time, and then do like emergency calls and squawk 7700.
Okay. A lot of students fuck up and they try and restart the engine.
Yeah,
Don't
no,
try to
I'm not.
restart the engine. Okay.
Imagine.
All right. Let's get into certificates and documents. What does an airplane need to, what documents are required in an airplane? Not you. What does the airplane need?
It would be my airworthiness certificate, registration, my operating limitations, and weight and balance sheet.
Okay. So you said you've got all kinds of fancy avionics in there now. Is there anything else that you would need in that airplane?
Uh, I believe it's the supplement or
Supplements.
yeah, the supplements. Yeah,
For what?
for those instruments, so like the
Yeah, for the
G5.
G5, for the Garmin 650, etc. Now let's say I get up to my airplane and there's a missing static wick. Can I go
Right.
fly today?
Uh, I no, I don't think so.
Why not?
Uh, I guess I wouldn't really be too sure as to what it affects. Um,
Well, what are
Smart.
static wicks for?
Uh,
I guess
gosh.
some Pipers don't have static wicks. Let me think of a different one. It's day. Landing lights burnt out. Can I go fly?
No.
Why not?
So, uh, it's required for flight.
Is it?
The
Where
landing
could I?
lights.
Yeah, where could I reference? What?
You. Oh, sorry, I like the acronym Eight Tomato Flames or
Yeah.
91205 in the fore aim.
Yeah, so 91205, 91213. Check rides aren't here to make sure that you remember your mnemonics. They're here to make sure that if you walk up to your airplane and there is a
Mm,
non-functioning piece of equipment, you can think your way through it, right?
gotcha.
Mnemonics are great. I love them for
Yeah.
rote memorization of an item, right?
Yeah.
So let's think through eight tomato flames if you got to write it down or what have you. Um,
Yeah.
is the landing light required?
No, I don't think so.
No. So what would I do?
I guess make your best judgment call. If it's
Is
not
there any
required, then
Well,
is
is there
there any like
anything that I need to do inside the airplane when I have a piece of inoperative equipment?
just write inop over the piece of equipment?
Okay.
Like a landing light would be can't put inop over it, but you could probably put it over the fuse or the light itself, the switch. And then just pull the fuse or the breaker for it. So
Okay.
try and turn it on.
All right. Now, if I pull the breaker, I have to disable it too. That's the only other thing that you missed. You have to
Okay.
disable the system, right? So you have to placard and disable it. All right.
Okay.
The way I disable systems, like the bottom radio in my airplane hasn't worked in like a year and I'm just too cheap to replace the damn thing.
Okay.
I zip tie. I put a zip tie around around the circuit breaker. I can't push it
Gotcha.
back in.
Yeah.
All right. So what about so just make sure you have a good grasp on 91213 and 91205, right?
Okay,
91213 talks about all the other places that you need to look, right? Because eight
gotcha.
tomato flames is not the end. Eight tomato
Right.
flames is not the end of the equipment that you need in your airplane. Airworthiness directives also apply, right?
Yep.
So if there's an airworthiness, Cessnas have an
Seat.
airworthiness directive, the seat retractor, right? The
Yep.
seat, the seat auto tensioner,
Mm.
right? So if that auto tensioner didn't work, the airworthiness directive says the aircraft is not airworthy. So if I come up to the airplane and there's an instrument or piece of equipment that is inoperative that would prevent the aircraft from flying, it's either in the kinds of operation list 91213, 91205, whatever. It's a piece of equipment that grounds the airplane.
Okay.
What should I do?
You could get so have somebody fix it.
Okay.
Have the mechanic there try and fix it.
Okay.
Um,
Mechanic can't fix it. We're waiting on parts for like 2 weeks. Is there any kind of documentation that I might need to remove from the airplane?
the airworthiness certificate.
Yeah, airworthiness certificate. Let's talk about the airworthiness certificate. Does it ever expire?
No.
No. So what would cause it to be? So we talked about one thing that would cause it to become invalid, right? A piece of
Yes.
inoperative equipment that is required under 91213, 91205, or kinds of operation list, airworthiness directives, etc. Right? What else would call? Oh well, I guess I just said it. Airworthiness directives.
Yeah, just airworthiness directives or something that makes it no longer airworthy.
Yep. Or destroyed. The aircraft's
Yeah.
destroyed beyond repair, right? Now, when you say operating limitations, you're referring to like the POH, right? So you've
Yes.
got that copy of a POH right there. I've also
Yeah.
got like a digital version of, a POH for that airplane kicking around here somewhere. If I get to the airplane and the paper POH is missing, can I just be like, I got one on my iPad. I'm good. Is that is
Uh,
that is
I believe you need the original POH.
I either need the original or a reprinted one. What would let me know that it's the appropriate one?
I'm not sure I understand.
So I'm flipping through a POH, right? How do I know that I've got the one for this airplane?
It would have the tail number.
Tail numbers change.
Uh,
Do serial numbers change?
yeah, no.
All right. It's going to be serialized, right?
Yeah.
Now, every airplane nowadays has a no smoking sign, right?
Yeah.
If that no smoking sign is sun bleached and faded so that I can't read it, is the airplane airworthy?
Yes.
It's a required placard, isn't it?
Uh, yeah.
All right. So, if the no smoking sign, as stupid as it
Yeah.
sounds,
Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah.
right? What about you? What documents do you need?
So I would need my airworthiness certificate.
Well,
Said
no,
you
no, no.
passed.
Your documents, not the airplane's documents. Your documents.
Oh, I'm sorry. My airman certificate.
Hmm.
I would need government or state issued ID. And my medical certificate.
Okay. Now add photo ID, right? Because technically your social security card, that's a government issued ID, right?
I got that. Okay.
All
Yeah, I
right.
understand.
Photo ID is the actual requirement,
Okay.
right? So you've got a logbook. We all got logbooks. What's required to go in that logbook?
Uh, endorsements.
Okay. Um, you and a buddy, you get your private pilot's license. You and a buddy go flying. Do you need to put that in there?
No.
No. So what needs to go in it?
So it would be like flight renewals. Or I guess instructions. Working towards an endorsement or other license.
Okay. Anything else? How do I know that you can carry passengers?
My flight recency. So you would need to log your flight recencies.
Which is
It's 3 takeoffs and landings to a full stop every 90 days.
okay. So if you're just doing this during the day, do you need to come to a full stop?
No.
No, right? So it's night and tail wheel are the times in which you need to come to a full stop. Okay.
Yes.
Digging through, digging through, digging through. Let me see what else we got. All right. So you're going to go on your cross country, right? You're going to go from point A to point B, blah 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 blah. How much fuel do you need in that airplane if you're going to be landing in the daytime by the time you land?
For minimum requirements,
Yeah.
for daytime, it's 30 minutes of
Okay.
fuel.
What about night?
It's going to be 45 minutes.
Awesome. Awesome. So let's take a look back, right? We're talking about how you were flying around with a buddy at one point in time. Your buddy gets sick. He, yaks in the sickness bag. Do you guys have to fly around with that? Or you can just shove that out the window.
Uh, so it's probably not wise to throw vomit out the window. You are able to throw items out of the window, I believe, if they do not cause any undue harm to persons, property. Um, you
Do you know
are
what?
able to.
Yeah. Do you know what reg covers that?
I don't.
91-115 or 91-15.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So you said you've got your cross country, right? So you've got a plan, or well, not necessarily a plan, but where is the browser? Here it is. Sky Vector. There it is. So can you see that?
Give me 1 second. Yes, I can see that.
Okay. So you said we're coming from KUNT or UKT, sorry.
UK. Yep.
KUKT, right? It's right here, Quakertown, right? Um, so what does this little star mean?
I believe the star means that there is a beacon.
Okay. What do these little tick marks mean?
That they have fuel.
They have services, right? Let's talk about this
Yes.
airspace. What airspace
Okay.
is this?
That's gonna be Class Charlie airspace.
Okay. So if I climb up to 6,500 feet and I'm flying this way, just straight line, um, what do I need in the way of equipment?
Um, I believe it would just be your ADSB out, and I think that's it. Maybe an encoding altimeter.
Okay. And what is that encoding altimeter reporting to? Like how
I
does the encoding altimeter is really it's just a fancy altimeter so that it can like report to another piece of equipment, right?
Yes.
It's really just
Okay.
a way to digitize your altitude. So what's actually going to be pushing out that information?
Would that be the ADSB out?
So ADSB out gets its information. The part of ADSB is it's dependent on other equipment in the airplane. What other equipment is dependent on? It's dependent on a transponder, right?
Okay.
So you need your mode C transponder. That's that altitude encoding and altitude reporting transponder, right?
Okay. Yep.
I know you knew what you were talking about.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous and I get confused and
You're good. You're good. That's why we do these things, right? Why is this one blue? Why is this airport blue?
it's a towered airport.
Awesome. Cruising along, cruising along. What's this?
I believe they do I guess parachuting, skydiving.
Okay. So if I take my route over here,
Hmm.
do I have to worry about them?
You do, because it's not just directly at that airport. It could be around in the area.
So what side the airport they're on is supposed to be the landing zone.
Gotcha.
All right. So if I come over here, yeah, sure. Obviously, I should still be worried
Okay.
about them, but I'm going to be looking for them over on that side of the airport. Right. They're
Gotcha.
telling me kind of where they are. What are these flags?
So those are reporting marks if you're talking to like ATC.
Okay. What the hell is this? This like light gray with the black numbers associated with it. What is that?
I believe that is the TERSA,
Okay. What's a TERSA?
the Terminal Radar Service Area.
So if I take my route here. Do I got to talk to anybody?
You don't, but it's preferred that you speak with ATC.
Awesome. So let's say I I get lost out here somewhere, right? I get
Okay.
lost. Um, and I want to use this VOR so that to try and figure out where I'm at, right? How would I know that I'm picking up this signal?
So you could tune into that channel, and switch over to like your COM2, and you would listen for the Morse code.
Okay. Can I put 111.6 in my comm radio?
No. So I guess you would put it into the um.
Put it in
So
the Go ahead.
like in yeah, like in the I guess in the dedicated area for the VORs, and then you would just tune into it and switch over to the COM2 section.
So, it's not comm 2, it's nav 2,
Have to.
right?
Sorry.
Or nav 1 or 2, right?
Okay.
Comm 2 would be, you'd be listening to your second comm radio, whatever that happens to be, right?
Gotcha.
What would I listen for?
The Morse code.
All right. So, this is the Morse code right here, right? So it's going to be
Yeah.
short beep, long beep, short beep, short beep, short beep, short beep, short beep, long beep, long beep, long beep, short beep, short beep. Okay. So if I am here at 6,500 feet, am I inside the Tersa?
No.
No. Why?
Because it only goes up to 6,000 feet.
Awesome. Awesome. What's this A mean on this glider?
Uh, I believe that is for. I'm not sure. I'd probably have to just reference the back of the.
It's
If this was
aerobatics.
or aerobatics. Got it.
Yeah, it's aerobatics. All right. What's this? VR707.
So that is a military route. For
Oh,
visual flight.
awesome. So that means I can just follow this, right? If I'm on my
Uh,
cross country, I can just follow this. I'll be good, right? If the military uses it.
I believe the military is able to use that for like they don't have a speed limit, so they're more than 250 knots in excess. It's very
Okay.
dangerous.
So you're saying no, I can't.
I think you can probably fly through it.
Yeah, you can fly perpendicular to them. You can cross
Yeah,
them. You don't have to like avoid them entirely, but don't follow
yeah.
them. Is really what I'm getting at, right? Um, and this is where we're going, right? What's the
Yes.
altitude of this airport?
I believe it would be 320 feet. Or I'm sorry, 962 feet.
All right. So what's this 32 mean?
I believe that is. I'm not sure what that 32 means.
It's the longest. It's the it's gonna
Is
be the
it
longest
the
runway.
Gotcha?
It's 3,200 feet, right? What's this little star mean? This little asterisk.
Um. Oh man.
So there's no tower here, right?
Yeah.
Who controls the lighting?
Oh, it's the pilots for clicking the
Pilot
button.
controlled lighting. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Right. So let's take a look. Is there any weather here? No, there's no weather there. Let's look at this one. Is it not going to show me weather on this damn website? What website could I go to if I wanted to look up some weather for airplanes, for aviation?
I think it's aviationweather.gov.
Awesome. Give me an airport.
You could probably do Allentown. I think it's ABE.
ABE. All right. Can you read this?
Yeah. Oh, right where the mouse is.
No, just the weather, right? Just the
Uh,
METAR.
so the 11 is the 11th day of the month. Um, 2051 is the time in Zulu. So you have a 7 degree. I'm sorry, 7 knot speed from 300 degrees. 10 miles visibility, overcast at 11,000 feet. You have the temperature and dew point.
Well, what is the temperature and dew point?
The temperature is 8 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure what the M in the front of the O1 stands for. Um,
So, are temperatures always positive?
okay.
So, what would
No,
that M be?
negative. I'm
Yeah,
assuming negative.
yeah, it'd be
Okay.
minus
Oh,
0 1.
okay. That makes a lot of sense.
All right.
So minus 0 degrees Celsius. Then you have your altimeter settings, um, which is 29.91.
All right.
Um, remarks. I
What's that?
believe that A2 is I want to say precipitation discriminator.
Awesome. Don't worry about the rest of that. All right.
Okay.
Let's look at Chicago. All right. Oh, Chicago's boring today. That sucks. Oh, what's probably not boring today? Oh, it's just a good weather day today. Everywhere. All right. Oh, yeah, it is just a good weather day today. Pretty much everywhere. Wow. Well, okay, maybe down. Let me see. MIA. What's this dollar sign mean at the end of the ATIS? What
I
do it mean?
believe that service is required for it.
Okay. Um, Now, is there any time that you would be concerned about going to this airport?
Give me 1 second to read it.
Yep. Here, let me see. Can I expand it? Oh, include TEF. There we go.
Let me see. So from when the TAF was taken, it's gusting 25 knots. That's pretty bad for me just to even start.
Yeah.
Broken at 5,000 feet. Um, 1,400 hours on the 12th. Um, gusting to 24 knots. That's no go for me.
All right. All right. So we know that, you've got some personal minimums. Does the airplane have any limitations when it comes to crosswind?
I believe the max demonstrated crosswind was 15 knots.
17,
Um,
but
17.
is that a limitation?
It's not a limitation, no.
All right. So if it's gusting, 25 knots straight across, right? It's still fair
Yeah.
game.
Yep.
All right. Let's dig into some aerodynamics. I knew you were saying that was something you wanted to kind of focus on, right? So we've got our four forces of flight. What are the four forces of flight?
Would be thrust, drag, lift, and weight.
Okay. So if I am in straight and level unaccelerated flight, what are those forces? Are they equal? Or is one greater than the other? Is
So I watched this video, and I'm not sure if the pilots agree with this, but I believe I guess the thrust is equal to the drag, and the lift is equal to the weight.
yeah.
But they're not all equally synced or
So yeah, they don't all equal each other, right?
yeah.
So thrust is equal to drag and lift is equal to weight. It's unaccelerated straight and level flight, right? We all know Newton's third law. What is it, Newton's third law or second law? Either way, one of Newton's law was like, body under motion will stay under motion unless acted upon by another force. Meaning that if something's moving along at a constant rate, it isn't under any acceleration because it's not, acted on by another force, right? What about left turning tendencies? Tell me what the left turning tendencies are.
Uh, so I think one of them would be. I think it's the um slipstream is I guess a right turning tendency. I think no, that
Hmm.
would be a left. I think.
I mean, it depends on
So
which
I
way
know.
the prop's spinning, right? But most
Yeah.
airplanes are spinning in such a way that it would be spiraling slipstream, not accelerated slipstream, right?
So then
Um,
there's uh gyroscopic precessioning. You have P factor, torque effect, and
that's
I
it.
think yeah,
No,
that's it.
that's it,
Yeah.
right? Um, let's talk about some wing shapes for a bit. So your wings on your Piper, right? Oh wait, you fly a Cessna. I'm stupid.
Yeah,
The
Cessna.
last guy flew a Piper, right? So either way, we can see this. We see the wings. They're tilted up, right? They've got like a little bit of an angle upwards. What is that?
I'm not sure I understand
What's it called?
the upward angle.
Yeah, the upward angle of the wings. The wings kind of tilt up like that.
That be, I guess, I want to say camber. Mm,
Dihedral. It's
Hydro.
dihedral. Dihedral,
Okay.
right? So you've seen that big old Antonov thing with like 6 engines, right? Or you've even seen like, F-16s and whatnot. The wings are tilted downwards,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So that would be anhedral. So dihedral is a what would you say? It was kind of would it be a stabilizing or destabilizing or angle or force or built into the wing?
I'd probably say stabilized.
Yeah, right. Because if I tilt the airplane over so that the wing is level with the air, right, is level with the ground, level with the accelerated slipstream, which wing, or not accelerated slipstream, but level with the relative wind, which wing is going to generate more lift? The tilted down one or the tilted up one?
I believe it would just be the tilted up one.
So
I'm sorry, the one that's
one that's
level.
level, right? Because it's
Yeah.
got more. It's not its lift isn't bleeding off because like when we're in straight and level flight, the lift kind of bleeds off and
Mm,
upward. But if I tilt over, right, I now generate a little bit more lift over here, which is going to try to push the airplane back to level. So it's
okay.
a stabilizing force, right?
Yes.
Um, now, a lot of wings also have a the wing is a little twisted, right? So it's steeper right here at the wing root than it is at the wing tip. Why is that?
I'm not quite sure.
So the reason it's steeper at the wing root as opposed to the wing tip is so that the airplane will stall from the inside of the wing to the outside of the wing. Because where's the ailerons? Are they in here or are they out here?
They're on the outside.
They're on the outside. So if I stall, do I want to maintain some level of lateral stability, lateral control?
Yes.
Right? So the reason they have a higher angle here at the wing root relative to the center line of the airplane is so
Okay.
that the wing root will stall outward so that you can maintain lateral control deep into a stall. Okay?
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense.
All right. Um, now, you've done steep turns, right? So if I crank
Yes.
this airplane over to 45, 50 degrees of bank, what's the airplane going to continue to do? If I let
Want to
go of
continue.
the stick, what was that?
Gonna want to continue to turn.
Yeah, it'll want to continue to turn. So what is that? What do we call that?
I'm not sure.
We call it an overbanking tendency.
Okay.
It's an overbanking tendency, right? So how do I counteract that?
Just opposite aileron.
Yeah, just a little bit of opposite aileron. Apply a little bit more um, lift on that inside wing. Okay, and I'm flying along. I'm flying along. I'm coming in for a landing. We already talked about you add flaps, right? It lets you descend without accelerating. How are flaps changing the wing? What are they doing to the wing?
I guess they would be changing the shape of the wing.
So they'd be changing the shape of the wing. What you already brought up what measurement it is, right? So let's cut up the wing into its parts, right? So from the tip of the wing to the trailing edge of the wing, what is that? What line is that?
The chord line.
All right. So above the chord line, what is that?
That would just above the chord line.
Be upper
Upper
camber.
camber.
upper camber,
Gotcha.
and then we got lower camber. So
Yeah.
if I drop my flaps down, what's that do to my chord line? It now brings it down here,
Yeah.
right? So what am I increasing when I add flaps? My upper camber,
Yeah.
right? More upper camber creates more surface area on the wing. It creates a bigger pressure differential
Mm.
between the lower side of the wing and the upper side of the wing, causing you to
Okay.
be able to generate more lift at lower speeds. You know, you've seen paragliders. You might not have ever been in one or been like close to one, but you've seen you know, you probably, if you've been to EAA or any kind of air show, they show up, right? You've
Yeah.
seen the wings on those paragliders, right? Look how
Yeah.
deep that wing is. They've got an asinine amount of upper camber, which lets them generate all that lift at the 20 knots that they're flying at. Those
Yeah.
things are slow, right? Um, so if I'm up in my airplane, right, and I just give it some aileron, what's going to happen to the nose? I don't do anything with my feet. I just go whoop with the stick to the left.
I guess I would want to turn to the left, or like so. If you're turning to the left, it would just start slowly dropping.
Um, you've heard of adverse yaw, right? So we know we need to use our rudder to coordinate a turn,
Yes.
right? So we've heard of adverse yaw. What causes adverse yaw?
Uh,
So what do
believe
ailerons do?
it's the just changing the I guess what you're turning. So
Yeah.
uh, can't even think of the word right now. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Let's talk. Let's work through it. So ailerons, they work just like flaps. All they
Yep.
do is move the trailing edge of the wing, causing it to give it either more or less upper camber, causing to give it either more or less lift. So when I generate lift, what else do I also generate? I've got two forms of drag, right? I've got parasitic and induced drag. So when I generate more lift, I create more induced drag. So
Mhm.
if I want to turn to the left, right? It might be to the right for you. I don't know. Sometimes it
Yeah.
mirrors it. If I want to turn this way, I'm putting more work, or I'm asking more work from the upper wing, causing
Okay.
it to generate more lift, causing it to generate more induced drag. So it generates more induced drag, pulling the nose away from the turn,
I got.
right?
Okay.
So that's adverse yaw. How do I stop adverse yaw? By using a little bit of rudder to force the nose through the turn, right? That's
Gotcha.
what we're doing when we coordinate our turns, all right? Let's talk about a stall, right? So what is a stall?
It's just when you exceed the critical angle of attack.
So what happens to the airflow over the wing when I exceed the critical angle of attack?
It just gets broken up and it's broken up and no longer producing lift.
Yeah, so I lose that smooth laminar flow over the top of the wing, right? Causing turbulence on the top of the wing, destroying any kind of pressure differential I have between the lower and the upper surface of the wing. Right? So, talk to me about a spin. What is a
Uh,
spin?
so a spin is a uncontrolled stall or a uncoordinated stall.
So it starts with an uncoordinated stall, right? But it starts with an uncoordinated stall that eventually develops into a spin caused by the outer wing generating more lift, not necessarily enough lift to keep the airplane flying, but more lift causing a bit of an auto rotation, right? So it starts with an uncoordinated stall. So we get the nose up, we stall like this, it wings over, and we start spinning, right? So we have the entry. And what's this first little bit? What stage of a spin is that? That first little flip over. Because there's 4 stages of a spin, right?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with them.
Entry,
Okay.
incipient,
Mhm.
fully developed, and hopefully recovery.
Okay.
Right? Now, we said they start off with the stall, with the uncoordinated stall. Then we have the incipient phase. Do you know about how many rotations are in an incipient phase of a spin?
No.
It's going to be about 1.5 to 3 turns in the from entry to incipient. Now,
Okay.
when I get into a fully developed spin, right? How do I recover?
I believe it would just be power idle, um, opposite rudder, and then nose up once this like the spinning out of control stops.
Okay. So you said just immediately pull up. So we started with a stall, right?
Yep.
Do I pull up to get out of a stall?
Oh no. So it would just
So,
be nose down to build up the airspeed and
well, to break the stall, right? Have you ever heard the acronym PARE?
yes.
PARE, right? So power
Yep.
idle, ailerons neutral, rudder opposite rotation, elevator
Yep.
briskly forward. How do I know which rudder to press?
Uh, wouldn't it just be the opposite direction from which
Have you ever
you're
spun in
spinning?
an airplane?
No.
No, it's real hard to fucking tell which way you're going. Right?
Okay.
You're spinning. Just spinning around real quick out there. All right. Especially if you wear glasses. Press the
Okay.
rudder that fights you.
Gotcha.
Because remember, if we're spinning, the airplane's out there still in the wind. If
Yeah.
we're spinning around, what's this rudder going to do? It's going to completely pin like somebody's pushing on it because
Right.
the air is pushing on it. Right?
Okay.
So kick the rudder that fights you. I actually have rudder pedals under my desk, and
Kicking
um,
them.
so I'm down there fidgeting with them. But kick the rudder that fights you, right? But make sure get that nose down, because when you kick that rudder and you stop the rotation, you're just falling like this.
Yeah, just still stalling.
You're still stalled. You're still falling like a leaf. Okay. Have you ever seen a maple leaf fall out of a tree?
Yeah.
You see how it spins?
Yep.
That's a spin. That
Gotcha.
is a textbook airplane spin.
That's pretty crazy. I never transferred the two together. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, but imagine like if you were to
Yep.
if you could just like ride on that maple leaf and you could just walk to the tip of it, right? And cause it to tip over, the rotation would stop. And sure,
Yep.
you'd start going down a lot faster. But,
Yeah.
if it was a wing, you could then, fly that maple leaf away and all that jazz, right? And the reason I teach or I'd say, press the rudder that fights you, a lot of private pilots, if they do get inadvertently into IMC and they get into a spin or a spiral, a lot of
no way
them,
you can.
they look outside and they're like, shit, what do I do? And your
Yeah.
G5s, guess what they do when you spin? They shut down.
Oh wow. Okay.
All right. They go, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm
Yeah.
not built for this. Okay.
Yeah.
So they shut down. They can shut down. All right. They might not shut down every time, but they can shut down. Okay.
Gotcha.
Because they're not designed to measure this. All right. They're designed to measure an airplane that's flying. I've done spins in the G1000 and it just declutters and goes black.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
So you can't trust your G1000, but you can always figure out which rudder to kick, right? What's wake turbulence?
So wake turbulence would just be, I guess, just air coming from another aircraft.
Okay.
Another aircraft producing lift, and I guess you're receiving that after blast or
So does it come from the engine or does it come from the wings?
the engines.
It comes from the wings.
Okay.
Okay. It's from the wings. So underneath the wing, we generate lift, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we got Bernoulli's principle and all this other jazz. But either way, we have a pressure differential. So we have low pressure on top of the wing, and we have high pressure underneath the wing. Well, when they
Okay.
come together here at the tip of the wing, they create those spirals. All right.
Vortices.
That's wake turbulence. Has
Gotcha.
nothing to do with an engine. Gliders generate wake turbulence. Helicopters generate wake turbulence. Okay. So how would I avoid wake turbulence?
So you would just
Let's put it into like a scenario. So I'm
Okay.
coming into a slightly busy airport, right? So you're flying into Appleton, Wisconsin, because
Okay.
you wanted to go to Oshkosh, but Oshkosh was too busy, so you flew to Appleton. Well, Allegiant flies into Appleton, and they fly A320s. Those things,
Okay.
they're big jets, right? They generate a lot of
Yeah.
wake turbulence. ATC tells you to follow the A320 in, right?
Okay.
And you see the A320 lands right on the numbers. What should you do?
Land after those numbers.
Yep. What else
So
should I
just stay
do?
stay above and above their flight path, and then land after where they touch down.
Awesome, right? Now, what about you're leaving, right? You
Okay.
went and you had your fun at Oshkosh. Oh my God, it was a blast. I'm incredibly sunburnt and I have way too much merch. Um, but Allegiant took off just in front of you. How are you going to avoid their wake turbulence?
Could wait. Ask for a delay. But if they are busy, then I would probably want to take off before. Um, I guess those wingtip vortices are just gonna come out and down. So just try and take off as soon as possible before their path and climb out higher than them,
All right.
or stay above their flight path.
Are you climbing out faster than a 320?
No, so try and stay above their flight path.
Can you stay above their flight path? That's really what I'm getting at.
Okay.
Turn,
Gotcha.
turn, right? That A320 is not taking off until, 60% down the runway. You and your
Yeah.
little Cessna is going to take off in like 1,200 feet,
Yeah.
right? So take off and ask for an early turn.
Okay.
All right. A turn opposite of the direction they went, obviously. Okay. So yeah, wake turbulence comes from wingtips. It does not come from the engines. The engines are not generating those spirals, right? And those spirals get big enough that they can fully engulf an airplane like this and cause it to roll.
Got it.
Okay. There's a go look up the scenario of the Challenger jet that got caught in the wake turbulence of the A380. Okay. They flipped like this.
Wow.
Okay. Last thing we're going to touch on is going to be aeromedical. So we talked about hypoxia, right? There's a couple different types of hypoxia. We've got histotoxic. We've got pressure related hypoxia. Stagnant hypoxia is the word I was looking for, right? When would I experience stagnant hypoxia?
I believe. I'm not sure.
So stagnant hypoxia is in relation to the blood no longer flowing through your body, right?
Okay.
So what would cause blood to pool down in your feet?
I guess high like G's being
High
pulled
G
or
load, right?
aerobatics or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So like if you go get the opportunity to go fly like a Citabria or like an
Yeah.
aerobatic glider or something, or like go fly with Sky Combat Ace in like Vegas or Colorado or what have you, you'll pull like 6 Gs and you'll pass out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's hypoxia. Hyperventilation. What's hyperventilation?
Just breathing too fast. So
Mm-hmm.
too much into the brain.
Okay. How would you help a passenger with hypoxia? Like you got a buddy that you're taking flying and they are losing their shit. How are
Um,
you going to help them?
so I like the paper bag trick. Get them to breathe in a bag. Um, that should hopefully slow them down and try and keep them calm.
Okay. I get a little concerned with the whole paper bag thing, given that you're at altitude. So you're going to go
Okay.
from hyperventilation to hypoxia real damn quick.
Okay.
Okay. It does work on the ground. Up at altitude, you start running into the issue of them passing out.
Gotcha.
And the last thing you need to deal with is somebody who's passed out that has like obstructive sleep apnea, because now all of a
Yeah.
sudden they're not breathing.
Gotcha.
Talk to them, get them to sing a song,
Got
yawn,
it.
give them a piece of gum,
Mm.
like get them to just talk
Do some.
slowly and deliberately, like how I'm talking right now. It requires me to meter my breath and
Mm.
slow down any kind of hyperventilation I'm going through, right?
Got it.
You want to get them talking like this. And people like to talk exactly like people are talking to them. Have you ever noticed that when you start whispering, other people start whispering? It's the same idea,
Okay.
right? You slow down your speech.
Okay.
Get them talking, get them singing a song, right? Um, what's the I'm safe checklist?
It would just be. I believe it's illness, medication. Um, I'm S is for I believe sleep. Um, A is for appetite. F is for um. I can't think of the last two.
Okay. So I'm safe. It's illness, medication,
Mhm.
sleep, alcohol,
Alcohol.
food, and emotion,
Got it.
right? So illness, obviously, we're not going to go fly sick, right?
Right.
What are some of the things if I got like a sinus infection or like my nose is all stuffed up? What do I have to worry about?
Uh, what do you mean, like in the aircraft, like flying?
Yeah, if I'm out flying around, I'm climbing up to 8, 9,000 feet because I'm going on a long cross country, right? So
Yeah.
I'm pressure's going down. Have you ever taken a bag of potato chips with you flying?
Yeah.
All right, you see how it puffs up real bad?
Yeah. Yep.
All right, well that's what happens inside your sinuses.
Got it.
Imagine trying to shove that Lay's potato chip bag up your nose and then letting it expand. Do you
Yep.
think that would feel good?
Not at all.
No, you can actually fracture your sinuses.
Gotcha.
Okay. Um, now, it says medication. Can I,
Mm.
let's say, I was sick like 2 days ago. I got a little bit of a headache. I'm going to take some Dayquil. I'm good, right? Because Dayquil is your daytime stuffy nose, runny nose, sickness medication. So I'm good, right?
No. I just like to reference the AIM. I believe it's chapter 8. And I'm pretty sure it gives you like a list of everything that.
Yeah. So there's some meds in there. They provide some examples. Have you ever heard of AMAS?
No.
AMS? Yeah, they're some third party, and like there is a disclaimer on the site that says like, hey, we're not a government entity. This is just our list. They
Mm.
actually do have a list of like medication. You could type in the generic name, you can type in the prescription name and stuff like that. Because there's some weird shit that you wouldn't expect, right?
Yeah.
Things like Midol, you can't fly for 72 hours, right?
Okay.
There's certain topical creams for like eczema that would stop you from
Oh.
flying. Yeah. There's things that you would not expect, right? So any medication, make sure you check up on it, right? Sleep, obviously, just get sleep.
You get
Okay?
nice sleep. Yeah.
Alcohol, all right. How long? Like me and some buddies, we're out. You're celebrating your private pilot's certificate. You're celebrating that you passed your check ride, and your buddies want to go fly the next day. How long do you have to wait between your last drink? I don't know if you're old enough to drink, but whatever.
So I think the saying is 8 hours bottom to throttle.
Okay. Yeah, 8 hours bottle to throttle. Say you wake up hung over. Can you go fly?
No. I mean, I
No.
probably wouldn't. I like to just. I mean, if you have more than 8 drinks, I think it's like an hour per drink to feel. I guess for it to wear off with the effects. So 8 hours bottom to throttle doesn't really
Well,
like if you have more than 8 drinks. So I would probably say like wait a day if you got really drunk. Wait a day.
so the reg states that it needs to be 8 hours, and then there's also like the 0.04
Yeah,
blood
point zero.
alcohol content, right? But then it also states no longer under the influence, right?
Mm.
Alcohol doesn't. People think of under the influence of alcohol as only the good parts of the influence of alcohol. The hangover is still your body being influenced by alcohol,
Gotcha.
right? So hungover, no. Even if like you go party, you end up with like a 2 day hangover at my age. Um, you're you're not flying for a while, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, the only thing I'd really say is I'd say read really a lot of the stuff that I don't try to pull anything that's not directly out of like the pilot's handbook of aeronautical knowledge or like directly out of like straight up documentation. I don't like to pull stories from my experience and been like, well, this is the way I do it. Kind of no, like I'm pulling stuff directly out of the documentation. So I definitely say go back through the pilot's handbook of aeronautical knowledge. It's on Audible now.
Okay.
All right. Sign up for if you've got Amazon Prime, I think you get free Audible.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So get it on Audible and listen to it while you're at the gym or what have you.
Yeah.
But yeah, brush up on a lot of that stuff. What else did? Just go through my notes real quick. Yeah, make sure you get a read through the POH a little bit more. I'd be a little concerned about using like that not miles per hour to knots conversion thing. Because the airplane was designed in miles per hour, so I definitely see if you can if it's in miles per hour in the POH, I'd know those
Let's go
numbers.
off of that. Okay.
Understand the systems that are in the airplane. Okay, really
Gotcha.
understand the systems that are in that airplane. Understand what that I and that O and the 320 and the 160 horsepower and all that stuff is Like it sounds stupid, but like it's important because think of it. You can go buy an airplane. You could
Yeah.
technically go buy an airplane right now. And there is stuff that you can do on that airplane without the supervision of an AMP once you get your private pilot certificate. Things like
Hmm.
oil changes. You think you
Yep.
need to know what engine you've got to do an oil change,
Yep.
right?
Gotcha.
Um, actually read through 91213 and 91205. I know there's all kinds of mnemonics for it because it is a little rough to understand. What I would say,
Okay.
read through it and write down your understanding of it instead of just reading
Okay.
through it. Read each section and go, okay, this section to me means this. Okay.
Okay.
Um, I mean, reading the chart didn't seem to have much issue. Um, the four forces or the a lot of the different angles on the wings and all
Yep.
that jazz. It was pretty weak, right? So like
Okay.
all the different shapes of the wing, the anhedral, dihedral, um, angle of incidence. That's the one I was thinking of. Angle of incidence, the twist, and all those things. Again, all of that is in the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. All right, I know it's a big book, but it's color and it's free.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
Adverse yaw, wake turbulence, a little rough on that. And brush up on your hypoxia stuff. Okay.
Okay.
Seemed like the Aeromedical might have been lacking a little bit.
Hmm.
And the night, yeah, night as well. I know we didn't do too much. We didn't talk too much about night flying because I know private pilots, they get their 10 hours and their 10 landings and they call it a day.
Yeah, and they just kind of right.
Yep. But you're still going to be asked questions on it. Okay.
Yeah, I understand.
So you got anything for me?
Not really. It's a little hard. Like I've taken some mocks with my actual instructors. They say that I'm pretty good. And then sometimes I ran across your videos and hearing things that I haven't heard of. So it's difficult. Like I've been with 3 instructors already, and I've done 3 mocks, and they say that I'm pretty good with the check ride and that this DPE he's gonna be all right. But I just want to make sure that it's a pretty expensive day.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
And
the weather, I've had to cancel a couple of times, so I'm supposed to go up this month and trying my best. So
yeah, and the thing is like there's this 80% kind of methodology or method of thinking that a lot of instructors get into is like, oh, you only got to pass 80% of it, right? So by the time it gets 5 layers down, it's 80% of 80% of 80% of 80%. You're at like 5% of the original testing standards, right?
Okay.
So definitely read through the ACS, the Airman Certification Standards, and as long as you understand everything that's going to be asked in that ACS, you should be fine. Obviously,
Okay.
when I do mock orals, I want to make sure that the student goes in and does the actual oral check ride and goes, oh shit, the check ride was easier than the mock oral. Because I don't know what the DPE is going to ask. I don't know
Right.
what subjects they're going to dig harder on, what subjects they're not going to dig hard on, what subjects they're going to gloss over. So I'm just like, we're just going to go deep and hard on every single one of these subjects, especially the stuff that you might have struggled with on the writ. Right?
Gotcha.
And I've also seen, I hate to say this, but I've seen some DPEs that like they have some study guides have been built off of their check rides and they haven't changed anything in 30 years.
Yep.
So
when you go in, you know pretty much what he's gonna ask, when he's gonna ask it, stuff like that.
exactly, and that doesn't make you a safe pilot, does it?
Yeah, just
Like
studying the time.
it gets you through, but
Yeah.
if somebody was like, "Hey, man, I'll get I need somebody to help me fly this airplane back from Kansas," you'd be like, "No, I'm not a chance in hell."
Yeah.
Right? But if you understand the source material, you understand the reference material, you understand how to become prepared for, such a long journey, I feel like you're a little bit better, you're definitely more prepared to go be a pilot. A lot of people say that like a pilot's license is a license to learn. Fuck that. You should be done. You should be pretty good on the way of learning by the time you're legally allowed to go fly an airplane all by yourself.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Yes, that doesn't mean your learning's done. Obviously, there's more shit to learn, but
Yeah, that's one thing I heard, that the learning never stops with this.
oh no, it never does. I've never taken a BFR because I've always taken another check ride. So, all right. But if you don't have any
Right.
other questions, good luck. Just study up on those things that I referenced. All right.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course.